I knew I was finished the moment the egg rolled to my feet. The whole starter plaza went silent for half a second, then exploded into laughter so loud it shook the stone arches above us. That was how Aetherfall Online began. Not with a heroic sword, not with a shining prophecy, not with a legendary dragon choosing me because I had a pure heart. No, I got a cracked gray egg that looked like it had been dropped from a mountain, run over by a wagon, buried in wet mud, and then politely rejected by every raccoon in the kingdom. And the worst part was, I chose it. At the start of Aetherfall, every new player was brought into the Grand Hatchery, a giant floating temple packed with thousands of pet eggs. The rules were simple. Pick one egg, hatch one companion, and that pet would decide your entire future. The rich players had guides, the lucky players had instincts, the arrogant players had stream chats screaming at them. Everyone rushed toward the glowing eggs. Dragon eggs burned with red fire, phoenix eggs sang when someone touched them, lightning wolf eggs crackled so hard their shells sparked blue. Holy griffin eggs floated with golden feathers, spinning around them like expensive perfume. And then there was the egg in the corner. My egg. Gray cold cracked straight down the middle, no glow, no music, no feathers, no lightning. It was sitting inside a dusty bucket under a table, next to broken brooms, and a sign that said damaged goods. So of course, everyone ignored it. Everyone except me. My name is Ryan, and I had exactly two things going for me when the game launched. First, I was broke. Second, I had played enough unfair games in my life to know that anything marked useless was either truly useless or secretly the most dangerous object in the room. The top player in the plaza chase was standing nearby with a dragon egg floating above his palm. He had armor that cost more than my apartment deposit and a smile that made me want to report him to nature itself. He saw me staring at the bucket. He laughed and said, not even trying to hide it, that I should take the trash egg because it matched my future ranking. A crowd laughed with him. I smiled back like an idiot. Because while they were laughing, I noticed something strange. Every egg in the hatchery had a shadow, except the gray one. The dragon egg had a little flame shadow. The phoenix egg had a bird-shaped shadow. Even the broom in the bucket had a shadow. But the cracked gray egg had nothing. Not because the light was wrong. I checked from 3 angles while pretending to scratch my head. It simply refused to cast a shadow. Then I noticed the second thing. Hatchery's guardian statue, a 20-foot angel with stone wings, was facing the dragon eggs when we arrived. But after the gray egg rolled slightly from the bucket, the statue's head turned 1 inch toward it. Nobody else saw it. Everyone was busy admiring their future pay-to-win pets. So I picked up the gray egg. A system window appeared. Pet egg selected, confirm. There was no rarity listed, no species, no skill preview, no warning, just confirm. That made me even more suspicious. Normal trash had trash stats. A broken item would say broken, a cursed item would say cursed, but this egg was blank, and blank screens in games are where devs hide mistakes. I confirmed. The laughter got worse. Chase lifted his dragon egg and said the rankings had already been decided. A girl named Luna, who had chosen a holy griffin egg, glanced at me with pity. She was one of those players who looked calm enough to make you feel messier just by existing. She did not laugh, but somehow that made it hurt more. Then the hatching ceremony began. The rich players got miracles. Chase's dragon hatched in a storm of fire and spread wings bigger than a carriage. It roared, and a dozen players stepped back. Luna's griffin hatched in gold light, sharp-eyed and beautiful, with a tiny halo circling its head. A dozen more players got wolves, fox spirits, stone bears, storm hawks, and shining serpents. Then my egg made a sound like a spoon tapping a cracked cup. Tapu, tapu, tapu. A tiny gray head pushed out. The creature blinked at me with one eye, yawned, and fell asleep halfway through hatching. It had a round body, stubby legs, wrinkled skin, and 2 floppy ears that looked like wilted leaves. It was the size of a potato and had the expression of someone who had been dragged into a meeting they did not approve of. A system window appeared. Pet hatched. Name your companion. I stared at it. The entire plaza stared at it. Somebody said it looked like soup with feet. I named it Pebble. Because if the world was going to throw a rock at me, I might as well keep it. Pebble opened one eye when it heard the name, then it sneezed. A dragon nearby immediately stopped roaring. Not gradually. It froze. Chase's baby dragon lowered its head, tucked its wings, and backed away until it bumped into Chase's leg. Chase thought it was scared because it was newly hatched. He started yelling at it to stand proud. I said nothing. Pebble sneezed again. 3 wolf pets sat down at the same time. That was the moment I stopped feeling embarrassed. The whole plaza still laughed because Pebble looked useless, but now I knew one thing they did not. Something was wrong with my pet. And wrong things, handled carefully, can become weapons. The first field outside the starter city was supposed to teach everyone basic combat. It was full of slime rabbits, angry mushrooms, and tiny goblins that attacked anything with a pulse. Everyone charged in like heroes. Chase's dragon burned 6 rabbits in one breath. Players cheered. Luna's griffin lifted a mushroom into the air and dropped it on a rock. The damage number was huge. More cheering. I walked into the field holding Pebble like a loaf of bread. The nearest slime rabbit looked at me, bounced forward, opened its mouth, saw Pebble, made a tiny squeak, and bounced backward into a bush. I blinked. Another rabbit did the same thing. An angry mushroom raised its cap and prepared to spray poison. Pebble yawned. The mushroom slowly lowered its cap and pretended to be normal grass. Monsters refused to attack it. They still wanted to attack me, though. The moment I put Pebble down, a goblin threw a rock at my forehead. That hurt, so I picked Pebble back up. The goblin dropped its second rock, turned around, and started whistling like it had never met me. I understood the rule immediately. Pebble was not making me invincible. Pebble was making monsters unwilling to engage anything touching it directly. That meant it was not a shield. It was a legal loophole with ears. So I built my first strategy around it. I could not kill monsters directly. My rusty sword did less damage than a disappointed glare, but the field was full of environmental hazards. Thorn bushes, mud pits, rolling stones, bee nests, and a river with a very unfriendly current. I spent 30 minutes testing distances. If I held Pebble too close, monsters refused to chase me. If I tied Pebble to my backpack with a starter belt, monsters hesitated but still followed if I annoyed them enough. If I tossed a rock at a goblin, insulted its hat, and then ran just far enough away while Pebble slept on my shoulder, the goblin chased me with the courage of a man who had not read the fine print. That was perfect. I pulled one goblin into a mud pit. It sank up to its nose. I poked it with my sword until it gave experience. I led 3 slime rabbits into a thorn bush, then shook the bush with a stick until they bounced themselves to death. I tricked an angry mushroom into spraying poison at me, jumped aside, and watched the cloud hit 6 goblins hiding behind it. The system kept flashing tiny rewards. Experience gained. Copper gained. Foraging level increased. Improvised trap level increased. Cowardly genius title progress increased. I stared at that last one for a full second. Cowardly genius was not the title I wanted, but it was the title I deserved. I sunset while other players were bragging about pet damage numbers. I had gained more levels than most of them without landing a clean hit. Pebble contributed nothing on purpose. It slept through 2 ambushes, 1 explosion, and a goblin screaming directly into its face. But whenever a monster got too close, it froze like it had remembered a debt from a previous life. Then the first real disaster arrived. A world message shook the sky. Field boss spawned. Iron Tusk Boar King has appeared. Everyone ran toward the forest clearing. I ran too, but for a different reason. Field bosses dropped rare loot, and rare loot meant money, and money meant I could stop wearing starter pants that looked like a flour sack lost a fight. When I reached the clearing, Chase was already there, standing on a fallen tree with his dragon above him. Luna stood near the back with her griffin, healing players and watching the boss carefully. The Iron Tusk Boar King was enormous. Its tusks were black metal. Its hide was covered in scars. Every time it stomped, low-level players flew backward like spilled dice. Chase shouted for everyone to support him. Of course he did. His dragon breathed fire. The boss roared. The damage was good but not enough. The boar charged. Players scattered. I hid behind a tree and watched. Not because I was scared. Well, yes, I was scared. But also because I was learning. The boar had 3 attack patterns: charge, stomp, tusk sweep. After each charge, it took 2 seconds to turn. Behind the clearing was an old stone wall cracked by roots. Above the wall was a hanging boulder wrapped in vines, probably set dressing. Set dressing in games is just a trap waiting for someone rude enough to use it. I needed the boss to charge the wall, but the boar would ignore me if I held Pebble, and it would kill me if I did not. So I made a third option. I put Pebble inside my starter helmet, tied the helmet to a vine, and swung it like a lazy gray lantern. Pebble did not wake up. The boss saw it. The Iron Tusk Boar King stopped mid-charge. Its eyes widened. Then it did something no boss should ever do. It lowered its head. Not in attack. In recognition. The whole raid went quiet. Chase yelled, asking why the boss stopped. I did not answer. I was too busy pulling the vine. The helmet swung left. The boar's eyes followed it. I pulled again. The helmet swung right. The boar stepped right. Boss, a real boss, was tracking my sleeping potato like a nervous servant watching a king's teacup. My brain lit up. If it recognized Pebble, then I did not need to tank the boss. I needed to embarrass it. I ran out from behind the tree, grabbed a handful of mud, and slapped it onto one of the boar's tusks. The boss turned toward me with murder in its eyes. I held Pebble's helmet between us. The murder vanished. I slapped mud on the other tusk. Now it looked ridiculous. The boss trembled. Not from rage. From shame. Then I whispered one sentence to Pebble, even though it was asleep. Make it look at the wall. Pebble twitched one ear. The boar stepped backward. I swung the helmet toward the cracked wall. The boar followed, slow at first, then faster, like it was being pulled by an invisible chain. Chase realized I was doing something and shouted at his dragon to attack me instead. That was his mistake. His dragon breathed fire across the clearing. I jumped aside, and the flame burned the vines holding the boulder. The boulder dropped. The boar panic charged forward, smashed into the cracked wall, and the entire wall collapsed onto its back. The damage number was so big it briefly covered the sun. Field boss defeated. Contribution rank 1, Ryan. The silence after that was better than applause. Then the loot window opened. I got a boar tusk blade, an iron hide cloak, and something nobody else saw. A black fragment shaped like a broken crown. Pebble finally woke up. It looked at the fragment, opened its tiny mouth, and ate it. A system message appeared, but only for me. Authority fragment restored. Forgotten presence has awakened. Pebble burped. Across the clearing, every monster in the forest stopped making noise. I smiled. The worst pet in the game had just eaten a boss drop that did not exist. And I was the only one who understood how dangerous that was. The next morning, I entered the starter city like a man with secrets in his pockets. The city was full of players showing off. Chase stood near the fountain with his dragon perched behind him, accepting praise like he had personally invented fire. Luna was speaking with a group of high-level healers, her griffin bright enough to make the pavement look holy. I walked past with Pebble on my shoulder. No cheers. No respect. Just whispers. There goes the cracked egg guy. His pet looks sick. Did the boar glitch yesterday? I kept walking. Mockery is just free fog. If people think you are weak, they do not guard their pockets, their plans, or their faces. My first stop was the equipment shop. Shopkeeper, an NPC with a giant mustache and a hammer bigger than my torso, looked annoyed when I walked in. Starter players were broke, and broke customers always touched expensive armor with dirty hands. Then Pebble opened one eye. The shopkeeper straightened so fast his spine probably leveled up. He bowed. Not a deep bow, more like his body did it before his brain could stop it. Then he frowned, confused. I frowned too, but inside my skull, fireworks were exploding. NPCs bow accidentally. That was the second strange trait. I tested it carefully. I stepped left. The shopkeeper relaxed. I stepped closer with Pebble facing him. He bowed again. I asked if he had any discounts for respected guests. He said no. Then his hands shook, and he added that there was an old customer privilege chest in the back for extremely respected guests, but he had no idea why he mentioned it. I asked to see it. He said absolutely not. Pebble yawned. The shopkeeper unlocked the back room. That was how I got my first real armor set for 5 copper and a confusing apology. I did not steal, I did not hack. I simply allowed a tiny, ugly creature to exist near a man with a loyalty reflex older than his script. After that, I spent the whole day turning accidents into assets. At the potion shop, the clerk bowed and handed me expired healing potions for free because his system thought I had ancient warranty rights. At the stable, the horses refused to stand taller than Pebble, so I rented a cart for the price of 1 carrot. At the city gate, the guards tried to block me from entering the noble district. Pebble sneezed, their spears lowered by themselves. One guard apologized to my shoes. That was when Mia found me. She was not a player. She was an NPC scholar from the archive, with ink stains on her sleeves and the tired eyes of someone who had read every forbidden book and regretted none of them. She stared at Pebble like my shoulder was carrying a sleeping crime. She asked where I found that creature. I said a bucket. She did not laugh. That alone made her more useful than half the player base. Mia led me to the archive, a tall building hidden behind the noble district, where books floated in circles and old maps whispered when opened. Most starter players could not enter because the door required reputation level 10. Pebble looked at the door. The door opened and bowed inward. I decided not to question door manners. Mia pulled out a cracked tablet covered in erased writing. She explained that during an abandoned early version of Aetherfall, there had been a final boss designed to rule over all monster behavior. It was removed before launch because testers could not beat it. The boss controlled aggro, loyalty, fear, sealed doors, cursed zones, and even certain NPC protocols. Its name had been deleted from all current records. Not hidden. Delighted. But deletion in a world this big did not always mean gone. Sometimes it meant buried. Sometimes it meant reborn as something small enough that no one would fear it. Mia looked at Pebble. Pebble looked back at her, chewed the corner of a forbidden map, and fell asleep again. I asked the obvious question. Was Pebble that boss? Mia said she could not prove it. Then every ancient seal in the archive began glowing gray. One by one, floor to ceiling. The whole room hummed like a giant beast waking under the city. Mia whispered that seals only reacted to sovereign-class entities. I looked at Pebble. Pebble had rolled onto its back and was snoring. That was the third trait. Ancient seals reacted to it. The fourth came sooner than expected. Mia warned me not to let players learn what Pebble was. If people believed my pet was a deleted final boss, they would not just mock me. They would hunt me, report me, trap me, buy me, threaten me, or pretend to be my friend until they could steal whatever made Pebble special. I agreed. Then I walked outside and found Chase waiting with 20 players. So much for secrecy. He had seen the field boss reward. He had seen the shopkeeper bow. He had heard rumors from players who loved drama more than oxygen. Chase smiled and said he wanted a duel. Not a friendly duel, a public one. Winner could force the loser to reveal one item or pet skill. The plaza filled fast. I could have refused, but refusing would make me look like I was hiding something. Also, Chase would keep pushing until he cornered me somewhere worse. So I accepted. The arena was a circle of white stone, no outside help, no killing, pets allowed. The crowd expected Chase's dragon to erase me. Honestly, so did I. But fear is useful when you do not let it drive. I checked the duel rules 3 times. Rule 1, pets could attack. Rule 2, players could use terrain. Rule 3, any item brought into the arena before the duel started was legal. So before the duel, I bought 10 expired healing potions, 3 bags of flour, a cracked mirror, 2 coils of rope, and a bucket. The crowd laughed again. Good. Let them laugh. Every second they spent laughing was a second. They were not asking why I needed flour. The duel began. Chase ordered his dragon to breathe fire. I threw flour into the air. Fire met flour. The explosion was small, but bright enough to blind the front row and loud enough to make the dragon flinch. Chase cursed and charged through the smoke with a sword covered in red aura. I rolled under his swing, smashed an expired healing potion at his feet, and watched green foam spread across the stone. Expired potions in Aetherfall did not heal. They produced random side effects. This one made the floor slippery. Chase slid past me like a rich idiot on ice. The dragon recovered and lunged. I held up Pebble. The dragon stopped so fast its chin hit the floor. The crowd gasped. Chase screamed that his dragon was bugged. I shouted back that maybe it just had taste. Then I used the rope. The cracked mirror was not for reflecting light, it was for reflecting targeting. Low-level pets locked onto the nearest enemy image if the real target was blocked. I had learned that from an old forum post about annoying chickens. I dropped the mirror behind Chase. His dragon saw his reflection for 1/2 second, interpreted it as a target, and breathed fire. Chase jumped away, slipped on expired potion foam, crashed into the bucket, and got stuck waist deep. I put Pebble on top of the bucket. The dragon refused to approach. Chase was trapped by household objects and a sleeping potato. The duel timer counted down while I sat beside the bucket and waved at the crowd. Ryan wins. For the first time, nobody laughed. I did not force Chase to reveal his dragon skill. That would have been satisfying, but small. Instead, I used the winner's right to reveal one item from his inventory. A black market tracking charm appeared in public view. The crowd turned on him instantly. Tracking charms were legal to own, but illegal to use inside cities. Chase had planned to follow me after the duel. His face went red. Mine stayed innocent. I did not beat him with power. I beat him with rules he never bothered to read. That night, my name entered the local rankings. Not high, not impressive, but visible. And visibility changes everything. Low-level players started following me around, not to cheer, but to see whether my ugly pet would do something strange. Merchants watched me like I was either a royal customer or a contagious disease. Chase's group glared from alleys. Luna found me near the fountain after midnight. Her griffin stood behind her, stiff and uncomfortable, refusing to look directly at Pebble. She asked what Pebble was. I told her it was very tired. She said every holy creature in the city had been uneasy since I hatched it. I said maybe they needed naps. She did not laugh, but she almost did. That counted. Then she warned me. Chase had sent people toward the old sewer dungeon, looking for records about gray eggs and deleted bosses. If he found a way to expose Pebble, the entire server would come after us. I asked why she was telling me. She said because she hated cheaters, and she did not think I was cheating. Then she added that she also hated bullies who called themselves champions. I liked her slightly more after that. Only slightly. The old sewer dungeon opened beneath the city at level 12. I was level 9, Chase was level 14, Luna was level 13. Going there was stupid. So I went immediately. The entrance was guarded by a sealed iron hatch covered in old runes. Players needed a key from the city quest chain. I had no key. Pebble touched the hatch with one paw. The hatch unlocked, opened, and made a sound that I can only describe as a metal bow. Mia had said ancient seals reacted to Pebble. She had not mentioned that some of them were polite. The sewer dungeon was dark, wet, and full of monsters with too many legs. Pebble sat on my shoulder and caused every rat, slime eel, and bone crab to freeze for 1 second before deciding I was not worth the paperwork. That 1 second was all I needed. I carried chalk string, cheap bells, and rotten bait. I marked patrol paths. I tied bells to pipes. I threw bait near cracked floors. Then I moved like a criminal accountant, not fighting the dungeon, but filing complaints against it. A slime eel chased me, tripped a bell, alerted bone crabs, and got shredded. A rat swarm tried to surround me, saw Pebble, hesitated, and got washed away when I kicked open a drainage valve. A poison leech dropped from the ceiling. Pebble snored. The leech apologized in body language and crawled back up. Every room became a puzzle, and I was very good at making puzzles unfair. Halfway through the dungeon, Chase arrived with his group. I heard his dragon before I saw him. Fire lit the tunnel behind me. He had bypassed the key requirement the normal way by buying help. His group moved fast, clearing monsters directly. If they caught up, I would be trapped between him and the dungeon boss. So I made the sewer itself choose my side. There were 3 water gates in the main channel. Opening one changed the flow. Opening all 3 created a flood warning. Most players avoided them because flood warnings meant instant death if you were careless. Careless was Chase's job. I opened gate 1. Then I opened gate 2. Then I waited at gate 3 with Pebble on my head and a smile on my face. Chase turned the corner, furious. He ordered me to hand over the pet. That was new. He did not want to expose Pebble anymore. He wanted to own it. I told him Pebble was not for sale. Pebble burped in agreement. Chase's dragon roared, but the sound cracked halfway through when Pebble looked at it. Chase noticed. His pride snapped. He charged. I opened gates 3. The tunnel screamed. Water slammed into the corridor like a stampede. I grabbed a hanging chain I had tied earlier and swung into a side passage. Chase's group tried to follow, but the current hit them first. His dragon managed to lift him, but everyone else got swept into a lower chamber full of very offended bone crabs. No one died permanently. The game protected low-level players from true death, but they lost gear durability, experience, and dignity. Dignity is the rarest drop. I reached the boss room alone. The boss was not what I expected. It was a giant serpent made of rusted chains and black water, coiled around a broken throne. Its eyes glowed yellow. Its nameplate read the Drowned Warden. When I stepped inside, it rose from the water. Then it saw Pebble. The nameplate flickered. The serpent lowered its head until its crown of chains touched the floor. It spoke in a voice like a drain swallowing thunder. Not dialogue I wanted to repeat, not because it was long, but because it sounded wrong, like the game was using an old script under a new skin. The meaning was clear. It recognized Pebble as a ruler. A deleted ruler. Pebble woke up, blinked at the serpent, and sneezed. The serpent trembled. Then the boss fight started anyway. That was important. Recognition did not cancel combat. It changed behavior. The boss still had to fight because the dungeon script demanded it, but it hated every second. That meant I could exploit hesitation. The drowned warden attacked with chain waves, poison pools, and summoned eels, but each time Pebble looked at it, the attack slowed by a fraction. A fraction was enough. I ran along the edge of the room, pulling chains from the walls, not to attack the boss, but to redirect its own attacks. When it fired a chain wave, I ducked behind the broken throne. The wave wrapped around the throne. I pulled a lever, the throne's base cracked. The serpent tried to retreat, but Pebble sat up. The serpent froze. The broken throne collapsed into the poison pool, splashing acid over the serpent's own body. Huge damage. Not enough. The boss went berserk. Water rose, the floor vanished. I had 30 seconds before drowning. Most players would search for a platform. I searched for a rule. The boss controlled water, the dungeon controlled drainage, the throne controlled the boss's anchor point, Pebble controlled fear. So I made fear pull the plug. I threw Pebble's favorite cracked eggshell fragment onto the throne base. The serpent lunged to protect it without thinking. The moment its chains tightened around the base, I cut the drainage rope with the boar tusk blade. Every drain in the room opened. The water dropped, dragging the serpent with it. Its body stretched between the throne and the drain gates. Chains snapped. The boss shrieked. I jumped onto its head and stabbed the glowing seal between its eyes. Boss defeated. Contribution rank 1, Ryan. Pebble ate the second black crown fragment. Authority fragment restored. Minor command awakened. Pebble's left ear unfolded. Just one ear. It was still ugly. But when it opened that ear, every bone crab in the dungeon turned toward the boss room and bowed. Then the dungeon completion chest changed. The normal rewards vanished. A new item appeared. Sewer Crown Token, unusable by current classes. I took it anyway. Unusable did not mean useless. It meant nobody had found the right crime yet. By the time I returned to the surface, rumors had multiplied like rabbits with business degrees. Some players said I could control bosses, some said I was an admin, some said Pebble was a cursed hamster. Someone made a drawing of me riding Pebble into battle, even though Pebble could barely climb a pillow. Chase's group came out of the dungeon covered in crab bites and rage. He tried to accuse me of sabotage, but the system logs showed he entered the dungeon voluntarily and then got defeated by environmental hazards. The crowd called it a skill issue. I almost cried from happiness. Then the server event began. A bell rang across the city. City defense event, night raid in 6 hours, prepare the walls. The first major event was supposed to bring everyone together. Waves of monsters would attack the starter city, and players would earn points based on kills, repairs, rescues, and boss damage. Chase saw it as a chance to recover his reputation. Luna saw it as a chance to protect the city. I saw it as 6 hours to become disgustingly prepared. I went straight to Mia. She was studying the fragment residue Pebble left on her desk. Apparently, Pebble had eaten a forbidden relic and then drooled on a 1,000-year-old manuscript. Mia looked both horrified and academically thrilled. I showed her the Sewer Crown token. Her face went pale. She said the token belonged to an old authority system removed from the current game, not currency, not gear, a permission marker. In the abandoned version, bosses dropped authority tokens when defeated. They could be used to access sealed functions of the final boss. I asked what function this one unlocked. Mia said command over lesser dungeon beasts, maybe one time, maybe unstable. I asked how unstable. A book flew off the shelf and hit me. That unstable. Perfect. For the next 6 hours, I did not grind monsters. I prepared the city like a man planning a robbery against an apocalypse. I bought rotten meat from the butcher, broken shields from the blacksmith, old parade drums from storage, cheap mirrors from the market, and every expired potion nobody else wanted. The merchants were happy to sell trash. They did not realize trash becomes strategy when you stack enough of it. Luna found me tying mirrors to the city wall. She asked if I had lost my mind. I said not recently. She looked at the mirrors, the rotten meat barrels, the drums, the ropes, and the sleeping Pebble sitting inside a soup bowl. Then she asked what she should do. That surprised me. I expected suspicion, maybe judgment. Instead, she gave me something better. Practical cooperation. I told her to keep healers on the east wall and save her strongest light skill for the moment when everyone thought we had already won. She asked why. Because games love punishing confidence. At midnight, the monsters came. The first wave was goblins, easy. Chase's dragon burned them by the dozens. Players cheered. Points exploded above his head. The second wave was armored wolves, harder. Luna's griffin blinded them, and teams finished them off. The third wave was bone crabs from the sewer. That was mine. I stood on the wall and held up the sewer crown token. Pebble opened its unfolded ear. The token cracked. Every bone crab stopped. Then instead of attacking the gate, they turned sideways and marched toward the rotten meat barrels I had placed in a long line along the moat. Players shouted in confusion. The crabs followed the bait, entered the moat, and got stuck under broken shields I had weighted with stones. Not dead. Pendo. Then the fourth wave arrived from behind them. Ogre raiders. Big bodies, tiny patience. He tried to cross the moat, stepped on the pinned crabs, slipped, fell, and created a living bridge of angry monsters yelling at each other. I beat the parade drums. The ogres looked up. Mirrors caught Chase's dragon fire from the west wall and reflected it in flashes across the moat. Ogres hated bright motion. The entire wave charged toward the reflections instead of the gate. They trampled the crabs, crashed into the mud, and blocked the path of the fifth wave. Points started raining onto my interface. Not kill points. Control points, defense points, trap points, wave disruption points. The scoreboard shook. Ryan moved from rank 312 to rank 41. Chase saw it and lost focus. His dragon missed a breath attack. The west wall cracked. That was when the real boss appeared. A Black Knight on a giant skeletal horse rode out from the forest, carrying a lance made of moonlight, its nameplate Red Raid Commander. Every player on the wall froze. The raid commander raised its lance, and all defeated monsters began standing again. Undead phase. Of course. Chase shouted for everyone to attack. Fire, arrows, magic, holy light. The boss took damage but slowly. Each time a monster revived, the city defense bar dropped. I watched the boss carefully. It ignored players unless they blocked its path. Its goal was the city gate. Bosses recognize Pebble. I had one trick left. A stupid trick. The best kind. I ran down from the wall, grabbed Pebble, and sprinted to the gate. Luna shouted after me, but I did not stop. The raid commander lowered its lance and charged. The ground shook, players screamed. I stood in front of the gate holding Pebble like a royal baby with digestive issues. 10 steps away, the boss slowed. 5 steps away, it trembled. 1 step away, it stopped. The skeletal horse knelt. The raid commander's helmet lowered. The whole battlefield went quiet except for Pebble's snoring. I looked up at a boss that could erase me with one sneeze and said, as calmly as possible, that the gate was closed for maintenance. The boss did not understand me, but the authority inside Pebble did. The city gate glowed gray. Ancient seals spread across the wood. The raid commander's lance cracked. Then Chase ruined everything. He saw the boss kneeling and assumed it was helpless. He ordered his dragon to use its strongest fire breath. The blast hit the raid commander in the back. The boss's recognition broke. Its helmet snapped toward Chase. Its rage changed targets. For one glorious second, I considered letting Chase deal with the consequences. Then I remembered the west wall was behind him, and if the boss charged there, the city would fall. So I did the cruelest thing possible. I saved him publicly. I threw an expired potion at the skeletal horse's face. Random effect. Plays be good. The potion burst into pink smoke. The skeletal horse shrank into a tiny skeletal pony. The raid commander dropped 3 feet, missed its next lance swing, and crashed into the mud. The entire server saw it. Luna used her strongest light skill at that exact moment. A beam of gold slammed into the boss, pinning it to the ground. I climbed onto the tiny skeletal pony, grabbed the cracked lance, and shoved it into the gate seal Pebble had awakened. The gate absorbed the lance. The boss lost its weapon. Chase's dragon, desperate to look useful again, breathed fire at the weaponless boss. This time it worked. Raid commander defeated. City defense successful. The scoreboard appeared. Rank 1's Ryan. Rank 2, Luna. Rank 3, Chase. The crowd did not know whether to cheer or question reality. I took my reward quietly. Another black crown fragment. Pebble ate it. Authority fragment restored. Lesser dominion awakened. A tiny gray mark appeared on Pebble's forehead, shaped like a crown drawn by someone with poor handwriting. Then every city gate bowed. Not metaphorically. The gates actually bent inward. The guards panicked, players screamed. Mia appeared from nowhere with a notebook and started writing so fast her pen smoked. I looked at Pebble. Pebble looked at me. Then Pebble hiccuped and the gates stopped bowing. That night my ranking shot into the top 50. The same players who mocked me began sending friend requests. I declined all of them. Some asked to buy Pebble. I blocked them. One offered a dragon egg and 10,000 gold. Pebble ate the message window. I did not know pets could do that. The next day, the city treated me differently. Merchants offered discounts, guards saluted by accident, low-level players followed at a distance like I was either a hero or a walking patch note. Chase avoided me in public, which meant he was planning something in private. Luna, meanwhile, did not follow. She walked beside me. That was more annoying, because walking beside someone means they think they have earned the right to ask questions. She asked what my plan was. I said survive until lunch. She said after lunch. I said become too useful to kill and too annoying to control. She accepted that answer. Mia had a better plan. According to her research, every major boss tied to the abandoned version carried authority residue. If Pebble defeated or absorbed enough of them, more of its original power would return. The problem was obvious. The stronger Pebble got, the more the world reacted. And the more the world reacted, the more players noticed. And the more players noticed, the sooner someone bigger than Chase would come. So I needed power, but I needed it quietly. Which is hard when your pet makes doors bow and bosses kneel. Our next target was the Mirror Orchard, a level 18 dungeon hidden behind the Noble District. It was famous for two things. First, it was beautiful. Silver trees, glass fruit, moonlit grass. Second, it murdered parties with reflections of themselves. Most players hated it because the dungeon copied your pet and made an enemy version. That sounded terrifying for dragon owners. For me, it sounded like free comedy. The entry seal required noble reputation. Pebble stared at it. The seal opened and seemed embarrassed. Inside, every tree reflected us from angles that did not exist. Luna came with me not because I needed damage, obviously, but because she had healing, light barriers, and the rare ability to not scream every time my plan sounded illegal. Mia could not enter combat dungeons, but she sent me with notes, warnings, and a bag of chalk dust for marking false reflections. The first enemy appeared as a mirror copy of Luna's griffin. It was silver instead of gold, fast, sharp, and mean. Luna handled it directly, light versus mirror light, claws versus claws, very dramatic, very expensive looking. Then my copy appeared. A mirror Pebble emerged from the glass grass. It was tiny, ugly, sleepy, and useless. It looked at real Pebble. Real Pebble looked at it. Both yawned. Then both fell asleep. The dungeon did not know what to do. A system warning flickered. Invalid aggression loop. I whispered that I loved this place. Because the mirror copy had one job, attack the original, but Pebble's presence made monsters refuse to attack, and the copy counted as a monster. Meanwhile, real Pebble refused to do anything because it was Pebble. The two useless creatures created a logic knot. The dungeon froze the room to resolve it. While it was frozen, I looted 3 glass fruits, disarmed 2 traps, and drew a mustache on my reflection. Luna asked if that was necessary. I said no, but it felt important. Deeper rooms became harder. The dungeon began copying not our bodies, but our decisions. If I reached for a lever, a reflection reached first. If Luna cast a barrier, the mirror cast one too. Every action became a race against myself. So I stopped acting. I used reactions. I threw chalk dust into the air and let air currents show hidden movement. I tied string to Pebble's tail, not tight, just enough that if Pebble rolled over, it tugged a lever by accident. I placed glass fruit under enemy feet and let them slip. I turned my own laziness into strategy. The dungeon copied decisions. It could not copy accidents I prepared 5 minutes earlier. At the final chamber, the boss waited beneath a tree made entirely of mirrors, its nameplate read Reflection Saint. It looked like a tall armored figure with a blank silver face and wings of broken glass. It copied whoever stood strongest before it. Luna stepped back before I could ask. She said if it copied her griffin, we would have a real fight. Then she looked at Pebble. The reflection saint copied Pebble. The boss shrank. Its armor folded inward, its wings became tiny cracked flaps, its blank face became wrinkled and annoyed. A second Pebble stood under the mirror tree. But this one had boss health. I had never been more offended by something so small. The boss Pebble opened one eye. Real Pebble opened one eye. The air became heavy. For the first time, Pebble did not fall asleep. Its crown mark glowed faint gray. The reflection saint trembled, as if it had copied the shape but not the permission to exist. Then the boss fight began. Boss Pebble used a skill called Nap of Ruin. Everyone in the room got sleepy. That included me. My eyelids turned into bricks. Luna staggered. Her griffin lowered its head. Real Pebble seemed offended that someone else had weaponized napping. The boss waddled toward us slowly, dealing damage with pure tiredness. A ridiculous death. Unacceptable. I bit my tongue, forced myself awake, and checked the room. Mirror tree, glass fruit, reflected moonlight, boss copied Pebble. Real Pebble resisted. The problem was not damage. The problem was authority. The boss was an imitation, trying to act like a king. So I needed to make it look fake. I grabbed the cracked mirror from my pack, the same one from the duel, and held it in front of the boss. Boss Pebble saw its reflection. The reflection saw the reflection. The mirror tree reflected all of it. Suddenly, there were hundreds of fake pebbles in every direction. The boss froze. Its authority did not know which version was real. Real Pebble stood up. Very slowly. It walked forward. The room darkened. Every reflection bent away from it. Pebble opened its mouth and made the smallest sound I had ever heard. Manhwa. The mirror tree cracked from root to crown. Luna stared like she had just watched a god complain about breakfast. I threw 3 glass fruits at the biggest crack. Luna hit them with light. The fruits exploded into silver shards. The tree shattered. Reflection saint defeated. Authority fragment restored. False image rejected. Pebble ate the fragment, then the fake Pebble dissolved into gray dust that flowed into its crown mark. Pebble grew by 1 inch. Still ugly. Still sleepy. But now when it looked at reflective surfaces, they went dull. No mirror could hold its face unless it allowed it. That sounded useless until I remembered how many high-level spells required targeting through reflection, scrying, or vision magic. In other words, Pebble had gained anti-surveillance. I laughed for 5 straight seconds. Luna asked what was funny. I said Chase was about to have a very bad week. I was right. Chase had been watching me through a tracking mirror bought from a black market broker. I knew because Mia found the residue near the sewer hatch, and because rich players love expensive spying tools more than common sense. So I gave him a show. I walked into an alley alone, placed Pebble on a crate, and spoke loudly about my secret plan to sell Pebble at the underground auction that night. Then I held up a bag full of fake crown fragments made from painted coal. The tracking mirror shimmered in the corner. Pebble opened one eye. The shimmer went gray. For Chase, the mirror would not go dark. That would be too obvious. Instead, it would show exactly what Pebble allowed, which was me placing Pebble in a cage, handing it to a hooded buyer, and receiving a huge chest of gold. All fake. Luna asked if this was necessary. I said yes. Mia asked if this was safe. I said absolutely not. That night, Chase raided the underground auction with 30 players, city guards, and enough righteous anger to season a stew. He accused the auction of illegal pet trading and demanded my location. The auction had no idea what he meant. While he was causing chaos, I was 2 streets away buying everything his group had listed for quick gold before the raid. Weapons, potions, dragon feed, rare ore, crafting charms, and 1 very expensive fireproof cloak. Prices crashed because Chase had ordered his group to liquidate assets before his dramatic sting operation. I bought their inventory at a discount using money from city defense rewards. Then I resold half of it the next morning after everyone realized the raid was nonsense. Profit is just damage dealt to someone's pride through economics. By noon, I had enough gold to buy a small workshop. By evening, the workshop had a sign. Pebble Solutions. Luna stared at the sign for a long time. She said it sounded like a pest removal company. I said it was worse, it was a consulting business. Players came because they were curious. They stayed because I solved problems no normal build could solve. A party could not clear a cave because bats swarmed them. I rented them a pebble-touched blanket that made bats choose self-reflection instead of violence. Merchant caravan kept getting attacked by wolves. I tied Pebble's shed hair to the wagon bell. Wolves followed at a respectful distance, confused and unemployed. A player needed a sealed chest opened. Pebble stared at it until the lock apologized. I did not reveal the real mechanics. I sold simple explanations. Monster repellent. Seal pressure. Boss intimidation aura. Nobody understood it, but everyone paid. Chase hated it. Luna pretended she hated it, but kept accepting her share from jobs where she helped. Mia used my workshop basement as a research room and filled it with dangerous books, old maps, and warning labels I chose not to read because they ruined the mood. For 1 week I climbed. Not by grinding harder. By turning the game's forgotten rules into tools. I reached level 22. Pebble still had almost no attack stat. Its speed was tragic. Its defense was slightly better than bread, but its authorities were growing. Forgotten presence made weak monsters hesitate. Minor command could redirect lesser dungeon beasts once per day. Lesser dominion made old seals respond. False image rejected broke scrying and mirror targeting. And then it gained a new habit. Sometimes when bosses were mentioned nearby, Pebble would drool. That was horrifying but useful. Mia discovered the next target from that habit. She placed maps across the basement and said boss names from old archives. Pebble ignored most of them. Then she said the title of a hidden boss beneath the sunken cathedral. Pebble drooled so hard it stained the map gray. The sunken cathedral was not a starter dungeon. It was a level 28 raid zone under a flooded ruin outside the city. It required at least 10 players, water-breathing gear, holy resistance, and enough patience to swim through ghost priests who screamed underwater. I had none of that. So naturally I tried to clear it with 3 people and 1 sleepy illegal potato. Luna came because holy resistance was her specialty. Mia came because the entrance was safe, and she refused to let me misread ancient symbols unsupervised. Chase came because he followed us. Not invited. Not welcome. Just there hiding badly behind a broken pillar with his dragon's tail sticking out. I pretended not to see him. A bad spy is not a threat. A bad spy is a delivery system for misinformation. At the cathedral entrance, I loudly told Luna the wrong route. I said we would enter through the western drainage tunnel, avoid the main nave, and target the bell chamber. Then I quietly drew the real route on Luna's palm with chalk. We entered through the eastern crypt. Chase took the western tunnel. 10 minutes later, a flood trap launched him and his dragon out of a gargoyle's mouth into the swamp. I did not see it, but I heard the scream. It improved my mood. Sunken cathedral was beautiful in the worst way. Broken stained glass glowed under dark water. Stone angels leaned from the walls with faces worn smooth. Schools of silver fish swam through empty pews. Every sound came muffled, like the whole world was holding its breath. Pebble hated the water. Not because it could drown, it floated. Upside down. Angrily. The ghost priests attacked Luna and me with hymns that drained stamina, but whenever one saw Pebble bobbing upside down, it stopped singing and drifted backward. Not fear this time. Reverence. Bosses recognized Pebble, NPCs bowed, monsters refused to attack. Undead worshippers seemed to remember something even deeper. That made me nervous. Reverence is harder to exploit than fear because reverent creatures might help you, or they might sacrifice you to your own pet. I used caution. We moved pew by pew, hiding behind stone pillars, marking ghost patrols, and using Luna's light only when necessary. The cathedral had pressure bells that rang if touched, summoning waves of drowned knights. I tied rotten fish to strings and let the current pull them across the floor. Ghosts followed the movement, triggered the bells themselves, and got attacked by their own summoned guards. Friendly fire is even funnier underwater. At the center nave, we found the raid mechanic. A giant sealed organ blocked the path. 10 players were supposed to press 10 keys at once while fighting waves. We had 2 players, 1 scholar and Pebble, who could not press a key without needing emotional support. I studied the organ. 10 keys, 10 seals. Each seal had an old authority mark, not current game design, abandoned version. That meant Pebble could cheat politely. I placed Pebble on the middle key. All 10 seals lit up. The organ made a deep sound that shook the water. Then every ghost priest in the cathedral bowed. Mia's eyes went wide. She said the organ had recognized Pebble as the choir master. I said that was great because I had no musical training. The door opened. The boss waited behind it. The drowned archbishop floated above a broken altar, wrapped in chains of white coral. Its face was hidden behind a golden mask. Its hands held a staff made of bone and bells. When it saw Pebble, it did not bow. It wept. Underwater. Which should be impossible, but the game did not care. The boss's health bar appeared with 4 phases. Luna looked at me. I looked at Pebble. Pebble looked at the boss. Then Pebble sneezed a bubble. Phase 1 began. The archbishop summoned ghost choirs that fired sound waves. Luna blocked what she could. I used broken pews as cover and cut bell ropes whenever they glowed. Each cut rope dropped a bell into the water. The bells sank slowly. I noticed the boss avoided them. Not because they damaged it. Because each bell carried a confession seal. So I started collecting sinking bells like a lunatic. Phase 2 flooded the room with black water that reversed movement. Swim forward, move backward, swim up, sink down. Most raid parties wiped there. I tied myself to Luna with rope and told her to swim wrong on purpose. She trusted me, which was either friendship or fatigue. We moved through the reverse current by doing the opposite of instinct. Down was up, back was forward, panic was death, confusion was navigation. I dragged 3 confession bells into a triangle around the altar. The archbishop screamed. Phase 3 began early. Good. Early phase changes often skip mechanics. Bad. They also make bosses angry. The archbishop summoned a giant hand from the floor. It grabbed Luna's griffin and started crushing it. Luna tried to break the grip with light, but the black water weakened holy skills. I had no damage, no strong magic, no heroic secret. I had Pebble, and a terrible idea. I swam to the boss's mask, holding Pebble in both hands. The archbishop hesitated, staff raised. I pressed Pebble's sleepy face against the golden mask. The mask cracked. Not from force, from recognition. The boss dropped the griffin. Behind the mask was not a face. It was an empty gray hole. Mia shouted from the entrance that the archbishop was not a true boss. It was a caretaker left behind to guard one of the deleted final boss's fragments. That explained the weeping. It was not fighting Pebble because it hated us. It was fighting because it had been ordered to guard Pebble's own missing power. That gave me the final trick. I did not need to beat the archbishop. I needed to relieve it from duty. I dragged the 4th confession bell to the altar and rang it. The sound moved through the water like silver lightning. The archbishop froze. I pointed at Pebble and said the owner had returned. The game system stuttered. A boss command collided with an authority command. The archbishop lowered its staff. Its health bar shattered without hitting 0. Duty transferred. Raid boss pacified. Reward adjusted. Pebble floated toward the altar, opened its mouth, and swallowed the gray fragment inside the boss's staff. Authority fragment restored. Vassal memory awakened. For 3 seconds, Pebble changed. Its tiny body stretched into a shadow that filled the cathedral. A crown of broken moons appeared above it. Countless eyes opened in the water, all looking down on us with ancient boredom. Then it shrank back into a wrinkled potato and burped bubbles. But I had seen enough. The deleted final boss was real. And my pet was not becoming stronger. It was remembering. When we returned to shore, Chase was waiting. Covered in swamp mud. Angry enough to boil the water around him. He had not cleared the dungeon. He had not found the boss, but he had recorded enough from outside to know Pebble was abnormal. He threatened to report me for exploiting deleted content. I thanked him. That confused him. Then I explained that if he reported me, the admins would review the logs and see him using black market tracking tools, illegal raid interference, and possibly several attempts to steal a starter pet. His mouth closed. I told him he should report me anyway if he felt righteous. Then I sent him a screenshot of his own tracking charm from the duel. He left without another word. Luna asked when I had prepared that. I said I prepare blackmail the way other people prepare snacks. Mia said that was morally concerning. I said morality was a luxury item and I was saving for boots. The sunken cathedral rewards changed my position overnight. I did not get the best weapon. Luna got a holy spear and she deserved it. I did not get the best armor. Mine looked like a drowned curtain. But I got something better. A title. Unrecognized heir. The title had no visible stat bonuses. Players mocked it on the forums immediately. Another useless Ryan reward. What does unrecognized even do? Can he inherit debts? I said nothing. Because invisible bonuses are the ones that break systems. The title changed how certain NPCs treated me, not all of them, only old ones, archive keepers, ruin guards, temple statues, sealed doors, anything connected to the abandoned version hesitated around me. Not bowing to me exactly. Acknowledging that I was carrying someone they remembered. That opened new routes. Secret routes. Routes players with dragons could not burn through. Mia found the biggest one under the city palace. There was a sealed staircase behind the throne room, hidden inside a wall that had no door. Current game lore said it was decorative. Old records said it led to the Root Vault, a place where the first version of the world stored monster contracts. Monster contracts meant rules. Rules meant power. Power meant someone would try to kill me for it. So I broke into the palace at noon. That sounds reckless, but noon is the best time to break into a palace because nobody expects stealth when sunlight is personally judging you. Also, I did not sneak through windows. I walked through the front gate. The guards blocked me. Pebble looked at them. They saluted. I saluted back with the confidence of a man who had no legal right to be anywhere. Inside, the palace was full of NPC nobles and players doing reputation quests. If I moved suspiciously, someone would notice, so I moved like I belonged there. That is the secret to restricted areas. Never tiptoe. Tiptoeing tells the world you owe it an explanation. Luna came dressed in white armor, which made her look official. Mia came carrying documents, which made her look terrifying. I carried Pebble in a basket, which made me look like a confused delivery boy. Together, we became bureaucracy. No one stopped bureaucracy. We reached the throne room during a public audience. The king NPC sat on a golden throne, listening to players beg for quests. The hidden staircase was behind the throne wall. Problem: too many witnesses. Second problem: the king was old code. The moment Pebble entered, the king's crown tilted forward by itself. He was trying to bow to my basket. If the entire throne room saw the king bow to Pebble, secrecy would die screaming. I had 1 second. I tripped. On purpose. I dropped the basket. Pebble rolled out, bounced once, and landed under a red carpet. At the same instant, the king leaned forward. Everyone thought he was reacting to me falling. I apologized loudly and dramatically, creating enough social noise to cover the crown's movement. Luna helped by scolding me. Mia helped by looking embarrassed, which for her was probably not acting. While everyone watched me crawl around collecting imaginary spilled items, Pebble wiggled under the carpet toward the throne wall. The wall seal woke. A gray line appeared behind the throne. I coughed twice, our signal. Luna asked the king a question about border defense, forcing him to look away. Mia dropped a stack of papers, forcing players nearby to help. I grabbed Pebble, pressed my hand to the gray line, and the wall opened just wide enough for us to slip through. The king whispered one word as we vanished. Return. I did not like that. The Root Vault staircase went down forever. At the bottom, we found a circular chamber with thousands of chains hanging from the ceiling. Each chain ended in a small stone tablet carved with a monster shape. Goblins, wolves, spirits, dragons, angels, demons, things with too many mouths, things with no mouths at all. Mia whispered that these were the old contracts, the original rules telling every monster what it was, who it served, and when it should attack. Pebble opened both eyes. For once, it did not look sleepy. The chains began to tremble. Then the Vault Guardian appeared. Not a monster. A system construct. A faceless knight made of white text and broken code, holding a sword shaped like a command line. Its nameplate glitched between Guardian, Warden, Error, and Do Not Release. That last one felt personal. It attacked without bowing. So not everything feared Pebble. Good to know. Terrible timing. Guardian moved like a rule with legs. It did not hesitate, did not breathe, did not care about terrain. Luna blocked the first strike and got thrown across the chamber. Her griffin crashed into a chain. Mia hid behind a pillar, shouting that system constructs followed conditions, not instincts. Conditions. That was the key. Monsters refused to attack Pebble because of instinct or authority. Bosses recognized it because of old loyalty. NPCs bowed because of protocol. Seals reacted because of identity. But the construct followed rules. so I needed to feed it the wrong rule. I ran between chains, letting the guardian chase me. Every swing cut stone tablets loose. Each tablet hit the floor and summoned a ghostly image of the monster contract it represented. Goblins, wolves, bone crabs, ghost priests. They appeared as pale shapes, not alive, not hostile. Pebble's crown mark glowed. The contracts bent toward it. The guardian paused for exactly half a second every time a contract reacted. There, the construct had a conflict protocol: protect the vault but avoid damaging old contracts. I could use that. I told Luna to attack the chains, not the guardian. She understood fast. Her griffin sliced through hanging chains, dropping tablets around the construct. The guardian's movements became tighter, more careful. It could not swing freely without destroying what it protected. I ran behind it and tied ropes between fallen chains. The guardian stepped through them easily at first. Then I placed Pebble in the center of the contract circle. Every fallen tablet bowed inward. The ropes tightened. The guardian lifted its sword. If it struck, it would hit Pebble or the contracts. Its code froze. Mia shouted that it was stuck between defend and do not harm. I shouted back that I loved making authority figures confused. Then I used the sewer crown token's cracked remains. It still held one spark. I threw it into the guardian's chest. The construct interpreted the token as a command source. For 1 second, I had input. 1 second is forever if you only need one word. I said sleep. The guardian lowered its sword, knelt, and shut down. Vault Guardian defeated by command override. Reward adjusted. Pebble waddled to the center chain, the only one still hanging. Its tablet was blank. Mia stopped breathing. The blank tablet was Pebble's original contract. Not deleted. Empty. No wonder the game could not classify it. The final boss had not been a monster under a contract. It had been the one holding the contracts. Pebble touched the blank tablet. It cracked open. Inside was another authority fragment, darker than the others. Pebble ate it. Authority fragment restored. Contract gaze awakened. A new skill appeared in my pet window. Once per day, identify the hidden rule governing a monster, boss, NPC, seal, or system object. I stared at the description. That was not a combat skill. That was a key to every locked door in the world. I nearly hugged Pebble. Then I remembered Pebble was sticky from swamp water and ancient dust, so I respectfully delayed the hug. When we returned to the palace, the throne room was in chaos. Chase had arrived. Of course. He had convinced a group of high-ranking players that I was manipulating NPCs with an illegal pet. He had guards with him, and this time the guards looked resistant to Pebble's bowing effect. New charm bands around their helmets. Anti-influence gear. Chase had adapted. I had to respect that. Emotionally, I hated it. He accused me in front of the whole throne room. Players recorded, nobles gasped. The king watched from his throne, still carefully not bowing to my basket. Chase demanded that I reveal Pebble's status window. That was dangerous. Pebble's window had blank spaces, deleted labels, and authority fragments. If the server saw it, I would be buried in reports. I needed a way out that did not look like running. So I agreed. The room went silent. Chase smiled. Luna's eyes sharpened. Mia looked like she wanted to hit me with a book. I opened the pet window. But before sharing it, I used contract gaze on the palace trial seal floating above the throne. Hidden rule identified. Public disputes involving starter pets must use hatchery verification records as primary evidence. Beautiful. Chase wanted my current pet window. The trial seal wanted the hatchery record. Rules outrank shouting. I requested hatchery verification. The trial seal accepted. A golden screen appeared above the throne, showing the original selection log. Player Ryan selected damaged gray egg from starter hatchery inventory. Pet hatched legally. No transfer detected. No external modification detected. Current classification, starter pet. The crowd murmured. Chase argued that classification was blank. The seal responded that blank classification did not prove illegal status. I asked the seal whether a player could be punished for choosing a legal starter egg. The seal said no. Then I asked whether false public accusations during a royal audience carried penalties. Chase's smile died. The seal said yes. I did not push for a massive punishment. That would make me look vindictive and scare neutral players. I requested a simple penalty. Chase had to apologize publicly and pay damages for disrupting palace operations. The amount was small enough to seem fair, but large enough to sting. He paid. He apologized through clenched teeth. I accepted like a saint with hidden knives. As the crowd dispersed, my reputation changed again. Before, people thought I was lucky. After the trial, they knew I was dangerous. Not because I had power, because I could turn their own systems against them. That is when the real high-rankers noticed. The next invitation arrived on black paper with silver edges. The top guild wanted to meet. No name on the letter, just a location, the floating arena above the capital. I threw it away. Mia pulled it out of the trash and told me refusing them could be dangerous. I said accepting could be dangerous too, but at least refusing was cheaper. Then the second letter arrived. This one said they had information about deleted final boss fragments. I stopped joking. The floating arena was not in the starter city. It hovered above the capital, which meant we needed airship passage. Airships cost a lot. Luckily, Chase had recently paid damages, and I was emotionally ready to spend his money. Luna came because the top guild respected her and might behave better with her present. Mia came because she said I needed supervision. Pebble came because the entire problem was Pebble, and also because it fit in my coat pocket. The capital was absurd. Towers taller than mountains, bridges made of light, airships shaped like whales, players in armor that shimmered with enchantments I could not pronounce, pets everywhere, adult dragons. Phoenixes big enough to carry houses, lightning wolves leaving sparks on marble streets. And May, level 27, wearing a fireproof cloak bought with enemy money, carrying an ugly gray pet that smelled faintly like old soup. Perfect. Floating arena was filled with high-ranking players. They looked at me the way nobles look at a stain that somehow bought land. At the center waited a representative from the top guild. I will not give a name, because people like that enjoy being remembered. They offered me protection, resources, and raid access. In exchange, they wanted exclusive rights to Pebble's abilities during server events. Translation, they wanted to put a leash on me and call it partnership. I asked what information they had. They showed me a map of the next authority fragment. It was inside the Sky Furnace, a level 35 raid where Phoenix Flames recycled dead players into ash illusions. Very dramatic, very deadly, very not my level. Then they said the map would be mine if I signed. I looked at the contract. Tiny text, binding clauses, pet usage rights, loot distribution, silence obligations, arbitration under guild council authority. I almost laughed. They were trying to trap the cracked egg guy with paperwork. My whole life was paperwork traps now. I asked for 1 minute to review it. They gave me 30 seconds. Plenty. I used contract gaze on the contract. Hidden rule identified. Any agreement involving pet authority is invalid unless pet consent is recorded. I slowly turned toward Pebble. Pebble was asleep in my pocket. I asked if Pebble consented. Pebble drooled on the contract. The signature lines dissolved. The entire magical document collapsed into wet gray mush. The high-ranking players stared. I said Pebble had concerns. Luna looked away, shoulders shaking. Mia wrote something down, probably for legal horror research. The guild representative's smile turned cold. They said if I would not cooperate, I could prove my value in the arena. A dual challenge appeared. Not against one player. Against 5 pets. A dragon, a phoenix, a lightning wolf, a stone bear, and a holy stag. Their owners stood outside the barrier, only pets inside. My pet had to survive 3 minutes. The crowd loved it. Chase was in the stands, of course, watching like a man hoping gravity would finally do him a favor. Luna warned me that refusing would make me look weak. Mia said accepting would make me dead. I asked the arena official one question. Could players place items before the match? The official said yes, as long as the items were not weapons. Wonderful. I placed a pillow, 3 bowls of water, a bag of sand, 2 mirrors, a cracked bell, and 1 roasted chicken in the arena. The crowd laughed. High rankers laughed too. I did not mind. Laughter is camouflage for setup. The match began. The 5 legendary pets charged. Pebble continued sleeping on the pillow. The dragon reached it first and stopped, claws digging into the stone. The phoenix swooped down, then veered away at the last second. The lightning wolf circled, whining. The stone bear lifted one paw and refused to step closer. The holy stag lowered its head in confused respect. But high-level pets had stronger wills. They pushed against the hesitation. I had expected that. The dragon breathed fire from a distance. Fire hit the sand I had spread earlier, creating a burst of hot glass dust. The phoenix flew through it, got its own flames reflected and scattered, and crashed into a mirror. The lightning wolf dashed around the side, slipped in the water bowl Pebble had drooled into, and shocked itself. That drool had authority residue. Disgusting. Useful. The stone bear tried to slam the ground. I rang the cracked bell. The bell had come from the sunken cathedral. The sound made old vassal creatures hesitate, and apparently the bear species had a contract deep enough to remember. It froze mid-slam. The holy stag approached carefully, not hostile, trying to cleanse Pebble with light. That was the real threat. Holy skills did not always attack. Some purified, sealed, or exposed hidden things. I threw the roasted chicken. Not at the stag. At Pebble. Pebble woke up. It smelled the chicken, opened its mouth, and released a tiny gray pulse of greed. Every pet in the arena mistook the chicken for a royal offering. The dragon grabbed one leg, the phoenix grabbed the other, the wolf bit the middle, the bear took offense, the stag tried to mediate. In 2 seconds, the 5 legendary pets were fighting each other over poultry, while Pebble dragged the pillow 3 inches away and went back to sleep. 3 minutes passed. Ryan wins. The arena did not cheer. It made a different sound. The sound of hundreds of players realizing that raw power could be baited, redirected, embarrassed, and made to fight over chicken. The guild representative handed me the Sky Furnace map with a face like spoiled milk. I thanked them politely. Then I sold Arena Survival, consulting to 3 mid-ranked teams before leaving. Never waste a hostile audience. The Sky Furnace changed everything. Floated above a volcano, chained to the clouds by burning iron. The raid was famous because death inside did not return you to the entrance immediately. Instead, the furnace created ash illusions of dead players that copied their builds and attacked survivors. The more your team died, the worse the raid became. That made normal raid strategy dangerous. It also made Chase dangerous. Because he entered right after us with a full team. He was no longer just angry, he was desperate. His rank had dropped, his reputation had cracked. People still feared his dragon, but they no longer trusted his judgment. A proud person can survive losing once. They cannot survive becoming a joke. Sky Furnace entrance required fire resistance. I had the cloak. Luna had holy barriers. Mia stayed outside with a communication crystal because scholars and volcano raids mix poorly. Pebble sat in a heat-proof teapot strapped to my chest. It liked the warmth. Inside, rivers of molten glass flowed through black metal halls. Phoenix statues watched from every corner. The air shimmered, and every step sounded like walking inside an oven that hated you personally. The first mechanic was simple. Flame birds attacked in waves. Kill them fast or they revived. I did not kill them. I opened Pebble's teapot. The flame birds dived, saw Pebble, and scattered into the ceiling. Luna raised an eyebrow. I said birds respect cookware. But the furnace adapted quickly. The next wave did not attack Pebble. It attacked the chains holding the platform. If the platform fell, respect would not matter. So I used contract gaze on a phoenix statue. Hidden rule identified. Furnace flames must preserve offerings marked as royal ash. Royal ash. We had no royal ash. We had Pebble's drool, cathedral bell dust, and burnt chicken bones from the arena. Close enough. I crushed the bones, mixed them with gray drool residue, and smeared the paste on the platform chains. The flame birds stopped attacking the chains. They started guarding them. Luna asked if I had just convinced a raid mechanic that garbage was sacred. I said yes, and we should move before it got educated. Deeper in, we reached the ash illusion chamber. Chase arrived behind us with his team and immediately attacked, claiming the fragment belonged to real damage dealers. His dragon breathed fire across the bridge. I dodged, but one of his own players got clipped and fell into the furnace. Normally, they would respawn. Here, ash rose from the lava and formed a perfect copy of that player. The copy attacked everyone. Chase yelled at his team to control it. Another player died. Another ash copy spawned. The chamber began filling with enemies that had player skills and no fear. Pebble's presence did not stop them. Because they were not monsters. They were consequences. I hate consequences. I used contract gaze on the Ash copy. Hidden rule identified. Ash illusions mirror the strongest unresolved hostile action before death. So if someone died attacking, the copy attacked. If someone died defending, maybe the copy defended. I shouted for Luna to shield the next falling player. She understood immediately. Chase did not. Next time an Ash copy knocked one of his team toward the lava, Luna cast a barrier around the player right before they fell. They still died, but their last unresolved action was being protected. The Ash copy that rose from the lava appeared with a shield and immediately blocked attacks from the other copies. Perfect. We could create defender ghosts. Chase could not process that. He kept ordering offense, creating more hostile Ash copies. I kept arranging deaths under Luna's barriers, creating defenders. It was the strangest battle I had ever seen. One side accidentally made enemies. The other side intentionally made dead bodyguards. Eventually, the bridge was crowded with Ash defenders holding off Ash attackers, while I crawled underneath the railing with Pebble in a teapot. At the far end, the raid boss descended. The Cinder Phoenix was massive, bright enough to burn shadows. Its wings filled the chamber. Its cry turned Ash copies into firestorms. It looked at Pebble. For the first time, a boss did not bow, kneel, weep, or hesitate. It laughed. Not with words. With a flame. Mia's voice came through the crystal, shaking. She said the Cinder Phoenix might be from the current version, not the abandoned one. No loyalty, no memory. That meant Pebble's authority would not carry us. Good. I was getting tired of people, thinking Pebble did all the work. The boss had 3 hearts rotating inside its chest. Each heart revived at once. Damage was pointless unless we stopped the revival cycle. The arena had chains. The furnace had offering rules. The Ash chamber had death behavior. The Phoenix had fire. Fire consumes, fire preserves offerings, fire revives Ash. So I needed to make the Phoenix preserve the wrong thing. I grabbed one of the Defender Ash copies and dragged it toward the boss. It blocked flames automatically. Luna covered me with light. Chase, seeing us move, ordered his dragon to attack the Phoenix directly. For once that helped. The dragon's fire clashed with the Phoenix flame, creating a pocket of white heat. I threw Pebble's teapot into that pocket. Pebble was not inside. I had moved Pebble into my cloak seconds earlier. The teapot, however, was full of gray drool residue and burnt chicken ash. The Phoenix sensed royal ash and preserved it. Its flames wrapped around the teapot, gently instead of destroying it. Then I tied the teapot to the Defender Ash copy and shoved both into the Phoenix's chest. The boss tried to revive its first heart. But the preservation rule protected the teapot. The teapot blocked the heart rotation. The revival cycle jammed. Luna fired her spear of light into the crack. Chase's dragon, furious and confused, breathed fire into the same wound. The first heart shattered. The Phoenix screamed. Now it hated me. Fair. For the second heart, I used Chase. Not by asking. Chase charged recklessly, trying to claim the kill. I placed a mirror shard near his path. Pebble dulled the reflection, making the Phoenix's targeting magic flicker. The boss aimed at Chase's reflected heat signature instead of his body and struck the floor behind him. The blast launched Chase upward. His dragon caught him. At that exact angle, his dragon's fire lined up with the second heart. I shouted that he had a clean shot. Chase took it because pride loves invitations. The second heart shattered. The crowd of players watching the raid stream would later say Chase, and I cooperated. That was slander. I weaponized his ego. For the third heart, the Phoenix rose into the air and began charging a full chamber wipe. No cover, no dodge, no time. Pebble finally woke up. It crawled out of my cloak, stared at the Phoenix, and opened its unfolded ear. The Cinder Phoenix faltered. Not because it feared Pebble. Because inside its flame, hidden deep, was one old contract thread. Every monster in Aetherfall had roots somewhere. Pebble pulled that root for 1 second. The Phoenix dropped 3 feet. I used the cracked bell. Luna used her spear. Chase's dragon used fire. Mia shouted a warning through the crystal that I ignored because warnings are just spoilers. I jumped from the bridge, landed on the Phoenix's chest, and shoved the boar tusk blade into the final heart. The Phoenix exploded. Cinder Phoenix defeated. Authority fragment restored. Ashen recall awakened. I fell. Luna's griffin caught me inches above the lava. Very dramatic. Very painful. My eyebrows were slightly gone. Pebble ate the fragment and briefly transformed again. This time a pair of cracked shadow wings unfolded behind it, huge and silent. For one heartbeat, the furnace flames turned gray and bowed inward. Then Pebble shrank, landed in my burned teapot, and went back to sleep. The raid reward was insane. But the real reward was worse. A server message appeared. Unknown authority has exceeded concealment threshold. World correction protocol pending. Mia stopped talking. Luna went still. Chase stared at me from across the chamber, no longer angry. Afraid. For the first time, the game itself had noticed Pebble. And I had no trick prepared for the whole game. The correction protocol did not attack immediately. That made it worse. When a monster jumps out of a bush, you hit it, trap it, or run away while pretending the running was part of your plan. When the world itself goes quiet, you start hearing danger in every normal sound. For 2 days, nothing came after us. No monster ambush. No warning lightning. No floating admin face yelling at me. No mysterious old man telling me I had awakened a power beyond mortal understanding, which was rude, because I felt I had earned at least one mysterious old man by now. Mia locked herself in her room with old game notes and came out only to eat soup directly from the pot. Luna trained in the courtyard until her griffin's wings shone like sunrise. Chase vanished from public rankings, which was suspicious because Chase loved public rankings more than some people loved their families. Pebble slept in a bread basket. I watched it snore and tried not to panic. This tiny cracked creature had swallowed boss fragments, bent ancient seals, scared monsters, confused NPCs, and made half the server think I was either a genius or a cursed pet hoarder. But if the game sent something made to erase it, could Pebble actually fight? I had won with tricks. Pebble had won by being weird. The next threat might not care about either. On the second night, Mia found a broken line inside an old dungeon manual. Deleted authority detected. Correction servants will descend. Not guards. Not bosses. Servants. That word made my stomach drop. A boss had pride, a guard had a job, a player had an ego, all of those could be used. A servant of the game only had a function. Erase what should not exist. Mia called them rollback knights, white armored system hunters that forced unstable parts of the world back into an older version. They did not hate Pebble. They did not fear Pebble. They did not even understand Pebble. They simply removed mistakes. And apparently my best friend was now a mistake with tiny legs. Luna asked if there was a known weakness. Mia shook her head. I asked if there was an unknown weakness. She told me that was not how research worked. I said it was how I worked. So I started testing Pebble. Not gently. Gently had ended the moment the sky blinked at my pet. I put Pebble on the ground and placed a low-level slime rabbit in front of it. The slime rabbit stared at Pebble, trembled, and rolled onto its back like it had remembered a debt from a past life. Useful but not enough. I brought out a captured stone goblin. It dropped its club and bowed so hard its forehead cracked the pavement. Funny but still not enough. I placed Pebble in front of an old seal stone from the sewer dungeon. The seal stone lit up, then dimmed, then lit up again, like it had been asked to salute a king wearing a napkin. Better. Then I took out the cracked fragment from the first rollback warning. Pebble woke up. That scared me more than anything. Pebble never woke up unless there was food, danger, or a soft blanket being unfairly removed. The fragment floated in my palm, white and smooth, without heat or weight. Pebble waddled over, sniffed it, sneezed, and opened its mouth. I pulled my hand back. No, absolutely not. Pebble looked at me with watery little eyes. I had seen that look before. It was the same look it used before eating dungeon keys, cursed gems, boss cores, and one of Chase's expensive tracking charms. I told it the fragment was probably poisonous. Pebble licked its lips. Mia whispered that the fragment might contain rollback energy. Luna said letting Pebble eat unknown system material sounded reckless. I agreed. Then the fragment jumped out of my hand by itself and tried to fly away. Pebble bit it out of the air. The sound was tiny, like someone biting ice. The effect was not tiny. The courtyard turned gray. For 1 second, every torch flame froze. Every training dummy leaned backward. Luna's griffin spread its wings and lowered its head. Mia's notes flipped to blank pages and then filled again with symbols she had not written. Pebble swallowed. A black crown mark appeared above its head, not floating proudly, but wobbling sideways like it had been drawn by a sleepy child. A new message appeared only for me. Authority fragment awakened. Rollback resistance. Pebble burped. The burp pushed me 3 steps backward. Luna stared. Mia screamed for paper. I smiled so hard my face hurt. Finally, not a loophole. Not a trick. A weapon. A ridiculous, ugly, sleepy weapon. The first rollback night arrived at sunrise. It appeared in the starter city plaza where the egg ceremony had begun. No portal, no dramatic roar. One moment the fountain was normal. Next moment a knight in white armor stood in the water, and the fountain flowed backward into the stone mouths of the carved fish. Players nearby froze mid-step. A merchant dropped an apple. The apple rose back into his hand, then fell again, trapped in a 2-second loop. The knight had no face. Its sword was a strip of blank light. When it walked, the pavement behind it became clean, then cracked, then clean again. A message appeared in my vision. Unstable deleted authority located. Correction begins. Pebble was sitting on my shoulder, eating a biscuit. It stopped chewing. That was how I knew this was serious. The knight raised its sword. I did not run to a record room. I did not run to a court. I did not look for a rule to twist. I grabbed Pebble, stepped into the plaza, and shouted at everyone to back away unless they wanted to become yesterday. The knight swung. Luna moved first. Her griffin dove from the rooftops with wings blazing. A holy shield slammed into the white blade, and the impact made the whole plaza flash. The shield cracked like glass. Not broke. Cracked. That meant Luna could buy us seconds. Seconds were my favorite currency. I threw 3 smoke bombs at the ground. Normal smoke would have been useless against a faceless correction tool, so I had mixed in sewer ash, boss dust, and powdered mirror glass. The smoke reflected every movement inside it. The knight saw 20 versions of me. It chose the real one instantly. Rude. The sword came down. I lifted Pebble. Pebble yawned. A gray bubble spread from its mouth. The sword slowed. Not stopped. Slowed. Like the attack had become tired halfway through existing. The blade touched Pebble's bubble and sank into it. The white light flickered. Pebble leaned forward and bit the sword. The knight jerked back. For the first time, it reacted. Pebble chewed with the serious expression of a creature, eating a difficult noodle. A chunk of the rollback sword snapped off. Mia shouted from behind a statue that Pebble was not blocking the attack. It was making the attack forget how to finish. I loved that. I loved everything about that. The knight formed a second blade with its empty hand. I tossed Pebble into the air. Everyone gasped. Even Pebble looked betrayed. But I had learned something important. Rollback energy targeted movement, not intention. If I moved Pebble, the knight aimed at me. If Pebble moved itself, the knight hesitated because it still could not decide whether Pebble was a pet, a boss, a mistake, or a potato. Pebble tumbled once, opened its tiny paws, and fell toward the knight's helmet. The knight swung upward. Luna's spear hit its wrist. The blade shifted by an inch. 1 inch was enough. Pebble landed on the knight's faceplate. Then it sneezed. The sneeze blasted gray mist into the armor. The knight staggered backward. Inside its empty helmet, something screamed without sound. Boss recognition activated. The plaza changed. For 1 heartbeat, the starter city was gone. We stood inside a black throne room under a dead moon. Broken chains hung from the ceiling. Thousands of monster shadows knelt around us. At the center stood Pebble, still tiny, still ugly, still with biscuit crumbs on its mouth. Then the vision vanished. But the knight's armor had dents. Not from damage. From nailing. Its own body had tried to bow. I pointed at it and yelled for Pebble to do it again. Pebble blinked. Then it fell asleep on the knight's helmet. Of course. The knight reached up to grab it. Chase arrived like an explosion. His dragon crashed into the plaza, breathing fire so hot it turned the fountain steam into a cloud. Chase landed beside me with his sword drawn and the expression of a man who had decided to be dramatic before asking questions. He said he was not helping me. I said perfect because nobody had asked. Then the rollback knight turned toward his dragon. The dragon's flame flickered backward into its mouth. Chase went pale. For the first time since I met him, he understood that something was higher on the food chain than his ego. The knight tried to erase the dragon's last attack. Pebble woke up on its helmet, opened one eye, and growled. It was the smallest growl I had ever heard. The city shook anyway. Monster refusal expanded. Every summoned pet in the plaza stopped attacking, not from fear of the knight, from fear of Pebble. Wolves lowered their heads, birds folded their wings, a giant bear sat down and pretended it had never been involved. Chase's dragon did not kneel. It was too proud. But it did stop breathing fire and looked at Pebble like a prince who had just recognized an emperor wearing pajamas. I shouted at Chase to hit the knight with physical force. No flames, no skills, just wait. He understood after only 3 seconds, which was fast for him. The dragon slammed its body into the knight. Luna's griffin drove light chains around its legs. I ran forward, slid under the sword, and used the one weapon I trusted more than any legendary blade. The damaged goods bucket. I jammed it over the knight's foot. The knight's step slipped and dropped to one knee. Pebble slid down from its helmet onto its chest. Then Pebble opened its mouth, wider than its body should allow. For a second, I saw a black gate inside that tiny mouth. Not teeth, not tongue, a gate. Pebble bit the knight's core. The white armor cracked from chest to helmet. Blank light poured out. Pebble inhaled it like steam from soup. The knight shattered. Corrections servant defeated. Authority restored. Crown bite awakened. The whole plaza went silent. Pebble dropped to the ground, rolled onto its back, and began snoring. I raised both hands like I had planned all of it. The crowd exploded. People screamed my name, Pebble's name, several wrong names, and one person screamed for the bucket. Chase stared at the spot where the knight had been. Then he looked at me. He said that thing had reversed his dragon's flame. I said yes. He said Pebble ate it. I said also yes. He asked what Pebble was. I picked Pebble up and said, apparently hungry. That should have been the end of the threat. It was not. That night, 3 white stars appeared above the capital. Mia saw them first. She burst into my room without knocking, which was brave because I had set a chair trap by the door. She stepped over it because she knew me too well. She said the first night was only a scout. The stars were locks opening. Luna arrived with armor already on. Chase arrived with his dragon and pretended he had not been waiting nearby. Pebble slept through all of it. The 3 stars fell at midnight. 1 hit the market district. 1 hit the arena. 1 hit the old sewer gate. 3 rollback knights rose from the impact craters. But these were different. The first had a sword. The second carried a bow made of blank thread. The third held a shield shaped like a door. Mia said they had adapted. I said I hated adaptive enemies. Luna asked for the plan. I looked at Pebble, who was currently asleep inside my hood. The honest plan was to scream and improvise. The useful plan was to split them before they synchronized. I had seen enough game events to know one thing. 3 enemies arriving together usually meant a combination attack. If we let them stand in the same district, they would become one giant problem. If we separated them, they became 3 medium problems with fancy hats. So I made the capital noisy. I rang every bell I could reach. I paid players to throw fireworks. I had sewer rats drag glowing mushrooms through side streets. I ordered every market stall owner to toss rotten fruit into the road, because chaos is cheaper when everyone is already angry. The knights reacted to disturbance. Not emotion. Not strategy. Disturbance. They moved toward whichever area had the most unstable motion. So we gave each one a different kind. Luna took the bow knight to the rooftops. Its arrows rewound anything they pierced. If one hit a roof tile, the tile became raw clay. If one hit a shield, the shield became ore. Luna survived by never blocking twice with the same thing. She spun between chimneys, banners, griffin wings, and falling signs, turning the whole skyline into a moving holy maze. Chase took the shield knight at the arena. The shield knight did not attack much. It opened its door shield and tried to send every skill back to the moment before it was cast. Chase's dragon hated that. Every fire blast vanished, then reappeared in the dragon's throat. Chase nearly choked on his own pride. I took Pebble to the sewer gate. Because of course I got the sewer again. The sword knight waited there, standing in ankle-deep water that flowed in reverse around its boots. I set Pebble down. Pebble looked at the knights. The knight looked at Pebble. Then Pebble looked at me, as if asking why I kept putting it in front of terrifying enemies when naps existed. I tossed it a biscuit. It accepted the terms. The sword knight rushed. Vast. Too vast. Its blade cut through the air and left white scars behind. Each scar pulled time backward around it. My thrown daggers returned to my hand before they landed. My smoke bombs unlit themselves. My traps folded back into my bag. Annoying. Also useful. If the knight reversed anything I did, I needed Pebble to do things that could not be reversed because they had never properly happened in the current version. Deleted power. I shouted for Pebble to remember the sewer boss. Pebble tilted its head. Then the water turned black. From every drain, ghostly claws rose, not real monsters, memories of monsters. The sewer raid boss we had beaten left echoes in the tunnels, and Pebble's authority pulled those echoes out like old bones. The sword knight slashed them apart. They reformed because they were not alive. They were memories of things that had already died. Rollback could not erase a dead echo without giving it back a life. The knight hesitated. I grinned. Finally, a kind of logic I liked. Pebble waddled forward as the black water rose around it. The ghost claws bowed to it. One lifted Pebble like a tiny king on a terrible throne. Authority echo awakened. The sword knight charged through the water. I waited until it raised its blade, then kicked the sewer gate lever. A flood blasted out. The knight cut the flood in half. Pebble commanded the two halves to keep going. Water does not usually obey pets. But this water remembered serving a boss. It wrapped around the knight's legs, then its waist, then its sword arm. The knight's rollback aura boiled, trying to reverse the flood to before the gate opened. Pebble bit the aura. Not the knight. The aura. A circle of white light peeled off like skin and vanished into Pebble's mouth. The sword knight stumbled. I jumped onto its back with a rope, wrapped the rope around its neck, and shouted for the sewer echoes to pull. They pulled. The knight fell face first into black water. Pebble opened the gate in its mouth again. One bite. The sword knight shattered. At the same time, Luna drove the bow knight into a tower bell. Every arrow it fired struck the inside of the bell and rewound the sound into itself. Pebble's authority echo reached through the sewer water because apparently all bad plumbing was connected, and the bell rang with a dead boss's roar. The bow knight froze long enough for Luna's griffin to pierce its core. Chase had more trouble. The shield knight forced him into the arena center and reflected every attack. His dragon was bleeding light. Chase kept swinging harder, which was his answer to most problems and the reason doors probably disliked him. I arrived with Pebble under one arm, dripping sewer water in victory. Chase shouted that he had it handled. Then the shield knight knocked him through 3 stone benches. I said it looked handled. The shield opened like a white door. Behind it, I saw the plaza from sunrise. The moment the first knight appeared, the shield was trying to drag us back to the beginning. Pebble growled. The door shook. Inside the white opening, something else growled back. Not the knight. Not the game. Something deeper. Mia screamed from the stands that the shield was connected to a rollback corridor. I had no idea what that meant, but it sounded like a hallway I did not want to enter. So I threw Pebble at it. This time Pebble did not look betrayed. This time Pebble spread its little paws and opened its mouth midair. Crown bite met rollback door. The shield knight tried to close the door. Too late. Pebble bit the edge of the white opening. The corridor cracked. Chase finally understood what to do. He did not attack the shield. He attacked the knight's feet. His dragon slammed its tail into the ground, breaking the arena floor and launching the knight upward. Luna dove from above and pinned the knight with light spears. I caught Pebble as it fell, spun once, and used its momentum to fling it straight at the knight's chest. Pebble hit like a pillow. Then the black crown mark flashed. The shield knight folded inward, armor collapsing into the tiny bite mark Pebble left. Third servant defeated. Rollback resistance strengthened. Authority echo strengthened. For 3 seconds, everything was quiet. Then Chase collapsed on a bench and said he hated my pet. Pebble crawled over, climbed onto his boot, and fell asleep. Chase did not move. That was when I knew he was joining us, whether he admitted it or not. The Capitol celebrated that night. Players loved danger after it was over. They told stories about the fights with every detail wrong. By morning, one rumor claimed Pebble had grown to the size of a mountain and swallowed the moon. Another claimed I had personally suplexed a rollback knight into a sewer drain. I did not correct that one. It made me sound athletic. But Mia did not celebrate. She watched the sky. The 3 white stars were gone. In their place was a ring. A pale circle hidden behind the clouds. She said the nights were not the main force. They were teeth. The ring was the mouths. I hated when Mia was poetic. It always meant we were about to suffer. The next threat came through Chase. He had not vanished earlier because he was plotting heroically. He had bought a forbidden egg from a black market collector, planning to hatch a parasite pet that could steal growth from other pets. He admitted this only after Luna threatened to have her griffins sit on him. The parasite egg was sealed in his inventory. Or it had been. Rollback energy had cracked it. At noon, the egg hatched without permission. A black leech with silver wings crawled out and attached itself to Chase's dragon. The dragon roared so loudly the arena windows shattered. The parasite began drinking fire from its scales. Chase swung at it, but every strike passed through its body. It was half pet, half curse, half mistake, which was too many halves, and exactly the kind of nonsense this game loved. Mia shouted that it was feeding on growth history. If it finished, the dragon would revert to a hatchling. Chase went silent. No jokes. No insults. No pride. Just fear. That told me everything. I could have let him suffer. He had mocked me, hunted me, tried to expose Pebble, and bought a parasite specifically to hurt us. But his dragon had helped fight the night. Also, if the parasite ate a dragon, then ate rollback energy, then decided Pebble looked delicious, we would all have a bad afternoon. I put Pebble on the ground. Pebble stared at the parasite. The parasite stared back. For the first time, something did not bow. It lunged. Pebble got tackled across the floor like a kicked dumpling. My heart nearly stopped. Luna moved, but the parasite split into 5 shadows. Mia shouted that it copied whatever harmed it. Chase's dragon tried to burn it and created 5 flaming parasites. Chase cursed. I told him to stop improving the enemy. He said he was trying to kill it. I said that was exactly the problem. Pebble stood up, wobbling. The parasite shadows circled it. They were fast, hungry, mean. Pebble was slow, sleepy, slightly wet from sewer water that somehow remained on it. On paper, Pebble should have lost. But paper was for normal pets. The parasites attacked together. Pebble yawned. Void nap activated. The air folded inward. Every parasite shadow slowed, then drooped, then fell flat on the floor. They were not dead. They were asleep. Not their bodies. Their hunger. Mia whispered that Pebble had put the parasite's appetite to sleep. I almost cried. That was the most Pebble ability imaginable. Chase asked if it could do that to death. I ignored him. The real parasite tried to flee back into the dragon's scales. Pebble waddled after it with terrifying laziness. Every step made the arena darker. A shadow crown formed above Pebble, clearer this time. Not cute, not crooked. A real crown, black and sharp, hovering over a creature that still looked like it had been assembled from lint. The parasite shrieked. Pebble opened its mouth. Not crown bites. Bigger. A new gate appeared behind Pebble, a round black hole lined with broken throne pieces. Inside it, I saw chains, stars, and a giant eye sleeping under stone. Authority Devour awakened. The parasite tried to split again. Pebble inhaled. All the copies became smoke and flew into the black gate. The real parasite followed, clawing at the floor. Chase's dragon roared as fire returned to its body. The parasite vanished into Pebble's mouth. Pebble swallowed. Then it made a face. Apparently forbidden parasite tasted bad. Chase dropped to his knees beside his dragon. He did not thank me. Not at first. He just placed one shaking hand on the dragon's snout. Then he looked at Pebble. For once, his voice was quiet. He said he owed us. I told him yes, probably forever. He said not that much. Good. He was recovering. The parasite left something behind inside Pebble. Not growth. A beacon. Mia saw it in the black crown mark, a tiny white spark pulsing with the rhythm of the sky ring. The parasite had not only attacked Chase's dragon. It had marked Pebble. The ring above the clouds opened. Every window in the capital turned white. Every shadow pointed toward us. A message rolled across the sky. White Crown descent begins. Players screamed. NPCs dropped baskets, swords, soup bowls, and one very confused chicken. The clouds split. A giant white crown lowered over the capital. It was not a crown made for a king. It was a crown made to crush one. Each point stabbed into a different district. Blank light poured down like waterfalls. Where the light touched buildings, color faded. Where it touched players, their weapons flickered into older forms. A high-level mage's staff turned into a beginner stick. A warrior's armor became starter cloth. Someone's expensive mount became a very angry baby goat. The white crown was rolling the whole capital backward. And at its center descended the thing controlling it. The white crown apostle. Looked like a rollback knight that had forgotten how small knights were supposed to be. It was taller than the palace. Its armor had no gaps. Its face was a smooth mask with a thin vertical crack down the middle. A smaller white crown floated above it, spinning like a saw. Around it marched 12 rollback knights. Sword knights, bow knights, shield knights, spear knights. All white, all silent, all moving toward Pebble. Mia said the apostle was trying to reset the capital before Pebble hatched. Luna said then we needed to stop it before the crown touched the palace. Chase looked at me and asked if I had a plan. I said yes. That was a lie. But lying confidently is the first ingredient of leadership. Then Pebble sneezed. The white spark in its crown mark flashed. The white crown apostle turned its smooth face toward us. All 12 knights raised their weapons. I suddenly had a plan. A terrible one. The crown was targeting Pebble as the center of instability. It followed Pebble's authority. So if Pebble stayed in one place, the capital died. If Pebble moved, the crown would chase. We needed to make the entire capital into Pebble's arena. I told Luna to take the skies and break the crown points. I told Chase to keep the knights busy with brute force, but not to spam fire unless he wanted his dragon to become an egg with anger issues. I told Mia to find every old seal in the capital and wake them up, not with records, not with arguments, but with command phrases. Pebble's authority made seals react. Mia knew the words. That was enough. Then I picked up Pebble. I told it we were going for a walk. Pebble looked at the 12 knights, the giant apostle, the descending crown, the panicking capital, and the sky breaking open. Then it yawned. Perfect. We ran. The first wave hit at the market. 3 sword knights dropped from rooftops, blades cutting backward scars through the air. I slid under a fruit cart, rolled across spilled apples, and threw Pebble forward like a gray bowling ball. Pebble bounced once, twice, then hit a knight's ankle. The knight looked down. Pebble bit its boot. Crown bite cracked the armor up to the knee. Chase's dragon slammed into the damaged knight from the side, sending it through a spice stall. Red powder exploded everywhere. The knight swung blindly. Its sword reversed the powder into dried peppers, then seeds, then tiny green sprouts. I grabbed the sprouts and threw them into its helmet. Did that help? No, but it was disrespectful, and morale matters. Luna flew overhead and struck the first crown point with her spear. The point did not break, it rang like a bell. Pebble heard it. Its ears twitched. A gray pulse shot from its body. Ancient seal command activated. Every old carving under the market stones lit up, not words, symbols, claws, chains, crowns, forgotten marks from the abandoned version. The ground grabbed the sword knights. Stone hands rose and held their legs. The knights tried to rewind the hands back into pavement. Pebble growled. The hands did not obey. For the first time, Pebble's authority over seals beat rollback. I shouted for Luna to hit the crown point again. She dove. Her griffin folded its wings, becoming a spear of sunlight. Luna's weapon struck the ringing point exactly where Pebble's gray pulse had cracked the light. The first crown point shattered. A chunk of white light fell. Pebble ate it before it hit the ground. Of course it did. Authority restored. Seal command strengthened. The market erupted in cheers. Then the apostle lifted one hand. The cheers reversed into silence. Every broken piece of the crown point began pulling itself back together. Mia's voice rang through my chat. She said the apostle had a core command. As long as it stood, broken points could reform. I asked where the core was. She said inside the apostle's chest. I looked at the giant, faceless monster towering above the palace. Naturally, never in the ankle. The second wave struck at the arena. Shield knights blocked every street. The white crown wanted to trap us inside a circle and reset the district. Chase grinned when he saw the arena gates. He said if the game wanted a fight, he could finally do something properly. I told him not to get emotional. He got emotional immediately. His dragon charged the shield knights, not with fire, but with its whole body. The impact shook the arena. Pebble's seal command made old chains burst from the walls and wrap around the knights' shields. Luna dove through gaps, cutting rollback threads before they connected. But the shields opened one by one. Behind each shield was a different version of the arena. Past tournaments, old events, abandoned fights. One doorway showed me the first duel where Chase mocked me. Another showed Luna watching me with suspicion. Another showed Pebble as an egg in the damaged goods bucket. The White Crown was trying to pull us backward through our own history. Pebble saw the bucket memory. It stopped moving. That was bad. The shield knights advanced. Pebble stared at its old cracked egg self. For a second, I understood. That was the only moment Pebble had been safe. Before bosses, before hunters, before rollback, before everyone stared at it like a bug in the world. The white doorway widened. Pebble took one step toward it. I jumped in front of it. I told Pebble that if it went back, nobody would feed it biscuits in secret because no one else understood its refined garbage taste. Pebble blinked. I told it Chase would probably pick it up and name it something awful like Ash Fang. Chase shouted that Ash Fang was a strong name. Pebble recoiled. Good. Emotional damage saved us. The shield knights attacked. Pebble's crown mark flared black. Void nap expanded. The doorways drooped. That is the only way I can describe it. The glowing white portals sagged like tired curtains. The versions of the past inside them slowed, yawned, and dimmed. Pebble did not erase the past. It put the rollback paths to sleep. The shield knights froze, their own doors hanging useless. Chase and Luna moved together. Fireless dragon claws smashed armor. Holy spear light pierced cores. I ran between them, grabbing Pebble each time a knight tried to recover, holding it close enough for Void Nap to drag their shields back into darkness. One by one, the shield knights collapsed. Second crown point cracked above the arena. Luna hit it. Chase's dragon hit it. Pebble opened its mouth and inhaled. The point broke and the pieces flew into Pebble's mouth like crumbs. Void Nap strengthened. Pebble's body changed. Only for a second. Its tiny shadow stretched behind it into something huge, a massive beast with a crown of broken moons, curled on a throne, sleeping with one eye open. Then it was gone. Pebble sneezed and became tiny again. I pretended I did not almost faint. The apostle stepped forward. The whole capital tilted. Lank light washed down the main road, turning signs, carts, weapons, and armor pale. Players tried to attack the apostle from a distance, their spells unraveled before reaching it. The apostle did not even look at them. It looked only at Pebble. The mask crack on its face opened a little. A voice came out without sound. Return the deleted crown. Pebble growled. I had heard Pebble make tiny angry sounds before. This was different. This was not a pet growl. This was a throne remembering it had teeth. The third wave hit at the palace bridge. Spear knights dropped in a line, weapons pointed toward us. Their spears did not reverse time, they deleted distance. One thrust started 20 feet away and ended against my chest. Luna tackled me before it landed. The spear sliced her shoulder guard clean off. If that had hit me, I would have become a memory with regrets. Chase's dragon tried to block the bridge, but spear knights stabbed through space around it. Luna's griffin shielded civilians fleeing behind us. Mia shouted from the palace tower, voice cracking, that she had found the command phrase for the bridge seal, but needed Pebble close enough to wake it. Close enough meant past the spear knights. I looked at Pebble. Pebble looked at the spears. Then Pebble crawled inside my shirt. Valid response. I needed to cross a bridge guarded by enemies that ignored distance. So I stopped treating distance like a line. I treated it like bait. I told Chase to throw me. He asked what. I told him to throw me. He smiled. That was when I realized I had made a personal mistake. Chase's dragon grabbed the back of my cloak gently, which for a dragon meant only slightly terrifying, and flung me across the bridge. The spear knights reacted instantly. Every spear thrust at once. I was not trying to dodge. I was trying to make them aim. Pebble popped its head out of my shirt and yawned. Void Nap brushed the spear tips. Not enough to stop them. Enough to make them late. Their deleted distance thrusts arrived half a second out of order. Half a second is huge when you're flying like a thrown idiot. Luna's griffin caught me midair, rolled, and dropped me behind the first line. I hit the bridge hard, rolled worse, and somehow kept hold of Pebble. Mia screamed the command phrase. I slammed Pebble onto the bridge seal. Seal command erupted. The entire bridge remembered what it used to be. Not stone. A chain. A giant black chain from the abandoned final boss arena. The bridge links lifted, wrapped around the spear knights and dragged them flat. Their spears stabbed forward, but the chain seal bent distance in circles. Every thrust that should have hit us came back and stabbed the air beside their own helmets. Luna landed beside me and drove her spear through the first core. Chase's dragon tore through the second. Pebble bit the third spear knight's weapon and swallowed the tip. The remaining knights tried to retreat. Pebble did not let them. Boss recognition expanded. The chain bridge shook. From below the capital, monster roars answered. Not living monsters, the old echoes again. Boss shadows from dungeons we had cleared, beaten, tricked, drowned, embarrassed, or accidentally insulted. They rose around the bridge like smoke giants and bowed to Pebble. Then they attacked the spear knights. Pebble was not summoning allies. It was calling defeated authority back for one more order. The spear knights shattered under dead boss claws. Third crown point broke. Authority echo strengthened. Pebble's black crown became visible to everyone. The capital saw it. Players stopped running. NPCs stopped screaming. Even Chase stopped pretending he was not impressed. A tiny ugly pet floated 1 inch above my hands, crowned in black, surrounded by shadows of bosses everyone feared. Then Pebble hiccuped and fell into my arms. Still Pebble. Always Pebble. The apostle had enough. It raised both hands. The 12 shattered knights turned into white dust and flew back into its body. The broken crown points stopped reforming and instead poured power into the apostle's chest. Mia shouted that it was compressing the whole descent into one attack. The white crown above the city shrank. Smaller, brighter, sharper. It lowered until it hovered behind the apostle, like a halo made of blades. The mask crack opened fully. Inside was nothing but white. The apostle spoke. Roll back judgment. The capital went silent. Every player froze. Every pet froze. Every flame stopped moving. Only 5 of us could still move. Me because I was bonded to Pebble. Pebble because it was the target. Luna because her griffin's holy light had wrapped around Pebble's seal command. Mia because she was standing inside an awakened old seal circle. Chase because his dragon still carried a piece of Pebble's authority from when Pebble saved it. That was our party. The mocked cracked egg guy. The sleepy deleted boss. The holy spear user. The researcher who weaponized old words. And the arrogant dragon rider who had finally found something too big to flex at. The apostle stepped toward us. Each step erased a layer of the city behind it. Market signs became blank wood. Arena banners became gray cloth. Palace gold became dull stone. If it reached Pebble, everything we had won would vanish. Not because of paperwork. Not because of rules. Because the white crown had more power. So we needed Pebble to have more. I remembered every boss Pebble had eaten fragments from. The sewer boss. The cathedral bell. The mirror forest. The phoenix ash. The root guardian. The parasite. The knights. Each victory had restored a piece. But Pebble never used them together. Maybe because it was too weak. Maybe because it was too sleepy. Maybe because I had kept treating each ability like a tool instead of a throne. A final boss does not use tricks one at a time. A final boss changes the arena. I lifted Pebble high. Pebble looked down at me like I had interrupted a nap of historical importance. I told it the capital was now its bed. Pebble blinked. I told it the apostle was trying to steal the bed. Pebble's eyes narrowed. There it was. The true motivation. The apostle swung its hand. A wave of white deletion rushed toward us. Luna stepped forward and planted her spear. Her griffin spread its wings behind her, forming a shield of gold light. The deletion wave slammed into it and pushed her backward. Her boots carved lines in the stone. Chase and his dragon hit from the side. No fire, just claws, wings, and raw force. The apostle barely moved, but its arm shifted enough for Luna to breathe. Mia began chanting seal phrases, one after another, faster than I had ever heard her speak. Symbols lit across the palace bridge, the market, the arena, the sewer gate, and the tower roofs. Every place Pebble had passed through began glowing gray. Not records. Scars. The world remembered Pebble because Pebble had bitten pieces of it. I set Pebble on the ground. Then I stepped back. That was the hardest part. My whole climb had been about carrying the weakest pet nobody wanted. But now the weakest pet needed room to become the thing everyone had tried to delete. Pebble waddled forward. The apostle raised its blade halo. Pebble yawned. Void naps spread across the capital. The dilation wave slowed. The white crown halo dimmed. The frozen flames around us drooped like sleepy flowers. Then Pebble growled. Boss recognition exploded. Every boss shadow Pebble had defeated rose behind it. The sewer corpse, the drowned cathedral saint, the mirror wolf, the ash phoenix remnant, the root vault guardian, the parasite's black wings. The shattered rollback knights. They did not stand beside Pebble. They formed a throne. Black throne of defeated enemies, broken seals, stolen authority, and unpaid nap time. Pebble climbed onto it. Tiny, ugly, sleepy, unbelievable. The black crown above its head became real. The apostle stopped. For the first time, it looked less like a tool and more like prey. A message appeared across the sky. Deleted final authority partially restored. Throne of the Forgotten King awakened. The title was dramatic. Pebble was sitting sideways and scratching its ear. Still, I accepted it. The apostle attacked. The white crown halo fired 12 blades of rollback light at once. Pebble lifted one paw. Seal Command caught 6 blades, wrapping them in black chains. Void Nap slowed 3 until they fell from the air and dissolved. Authority Echo sent 2 back through the shadows of defeated bosses. The last blade came straight for Pebble's face. Pebble bit it. Crown Bite shattered the blade. Authority Devour swallowed the pieces. The apostle reeled. Luna saw the opening. She flew higher than any attack had reached, griffin wings burning like a second sun. She dove straight at the apostle's crown halo. Chase's dragon launched from the palace roof beneath her, creating a shockwave that pushed her even faster. Mia shouted the final command phrase. Every old seal in the capital sent one thread of gray light into Luna's spear. I did the only thing I could do. I ran under the apostle. Not because I was brave. Because I saw the core in its chest open when it attacked Pebble. The core was too high for me. But the apostle had a shadow. And Pebble's boss shadows were connected to every shadow in the arena it controlled. I dove into the apostle's shadow with Pebble's damaged bucket in my hands. Do not ask why I still had the bucket. A man has principles. The shadow grabbed me like cold water. For 1 second I saw the rollback corridor behind the world, endless white halls, countless empty armor sets, versions of cities erased before anyone remembered them. Then Pebble's throne shadow reached down and pulled me through. I came out above the apostle's chest, falling. The core opened beneath me. I slammed the bucket into it. Was that necessary? No. Was it satisfying? More than words can explain. The bucket wedged into the core, forcing it open. I shouted for Pebble. Pebble leapt from the throne. Not waddled. Leapt. For one blazing second, the tiny creature became a massive black silhouette with a crown of broken moons and a mouth wide enough to swallow a sky. Then it hit the apostle's chest. Authority Devour opened. The apostle tried to roll back the bite. Void Nap put the rollback to sleep. It tried to seal Pebble. Seal Command broke the seal. It tried to summon knights. Boss Recognition forced the knight fragments to kneel. It tried to retreat into white light. Crown Bite caught the light and cracked it like bone. Luna's spear struck the crown halo from above. Chase's dragon slammed into the apostle's back. Mia's seals locked the capital around it. And Pebble swallowed the core. The white crown apostle screamed. This time everyone heard it. Not with ears. With bones. The white crown above the city shattered. Blank light became snow. Frozen players stumbled free, pets roared, flames moved again. Color rushed back into the world so violently the market banners snapped in the wind. The apostle fell to one knee. Then both. Its smooth mask cracked down the middle. Inside, I saw no face. Only a tiny gray egg reflected in endless white. The apostle reached for Pebble one last time. Pebble looked at the hand, then sneezed. The hand shattered. The whole apostle broke apart into white dust that swirled around Pebble's crown and vanished into the black mark on its head. White crown descent repelled. Rollback command defeated. Deleted final authority restored to second seal. The city went quiet. Then it erupted. Players screamed, NPCs bowed, pets howled, chirped, roared, and in one case made a noise like a broken flute. Luna landed beside me, breathing hard, armor cracked, eyes bright. Mia collapsed onto the bridge and laughed like a researcher who had just survived becoming a footnote. Chase slid off his dragon and sat on the ground, staring at Pebble. He said he was never calling it useless again. Pebble waddled over to him. Chase stiffened. Pebble climbed onto his knee, stared into his soul, and demanded a biscuit. Chase gave it one. Growth. I picked Pebble up. It felt heavier. Not physically, Pebble still weighed about as much as a damp loaf. But something inside it had changed. The crown mark no longer flickered. It pulsed, slow and steady, like a heart under a throne. The capital celebrated for hours. Merchants started selling little gray plush pets before the smoke cleared. Someone painted a mural of Pebble fighting the apostle, but made Pebble look muscular, which was dishonest and possibly insulting. A group of low-level players began placing damaged buckets on their heads in my honor. I supported this movement. Chase pretended not to. Luna said we had bought time. Mia said we had done more than that. The rollback command had not just been delayed, it had been beaten in direct authority combat. The world now knew Pebble could resist correction servants by force. That sounded good. Then she said the bad part. The white crown had been only the second seal. I asked how many seals there were. Pebble answered before Mia could. It lifted one paw. 4 tiny claws. Then it looked confused and lifted the other paw too. That did not help. Mia said the old symbols suggested 5 total. We had broken 2. 3 remained. Chase asked what happened when all 5 broke. No one answered. Because the ground answered for us. The palace bridge split with a sound like the world cracking its knuckles. A black line opened across the stone. Not a hole. A seam. From inside came cold air smelling like rain, dust, and old monsters. Pebble stopped chewing. Again, terrifying. The seam widened just enough for a staircase to appear, descending into darkness beneath the capital. Mia whispered the word she had found in the erased files. The underside. Luna raised her spear. Chase's dragon lowered its head and growled. I looked at Pebble. For the first time since I picked that cracked gray egg, Pebble did not look sleepy. It looked afraid. That scared me more than the rollback knights. More than the apostle. More than the white crown. I crouched beside it and asked what was down there. Pebble stared into the staircase. The black crown mark on its head pulsed twice. Then in a voice so small I thought I imagined it, Pebble spoke. Not boss. Luck. My blood went cold. Above us, the last pieces of white crown snow melted before touching the ground. Below us, something enormous moved in the dark. The staircase lit one step at a time. And from the underside, a voice older than the game whispered back. Second seal broken. Key returned. I picked up Pebble. Its tiny body trembled. Ryan the cracked egg idiot had beaten the white crown. Ryan the mocked beginner had climbed higher than the players who laughed at him. Ryan the owner of the weakest pet had watched that pet devour a system apostle. But standing at the mouth of the underside, I finally understood the joke. Everyone thought Pebble had been deleted because it was the final boss. Maybe Pebble had been deleted because it had been holding the final boss back. The stairs kept glowing. One by one. Down into a place with no map. No safe zone. No rollback. No mercy. I looked at Luna. She nodded. I looked at Mia. She was already shaking with fear and excitement. I looked at Chase. He sighed and said he was only coming because someone had to make sure I did not ruin the world unsupervised. I told him that was fair. Then I looked at Pebble. Pebble looked at me. It made one tiny sound. Not a growl. Not a yawn. A warning. The darkness below answered with a laugh. And that was when the third seal began to crack.